Live from our Coronation Park studios in Babane, it has just turned 10 o'clock Central Africa time. Good evening and welcome to the news brought to you by Eswatini Television. I'm Sanipo Ngwane, alongside the Matlabiso, as well as joining us in studio is Mnyako for the rest of the news today. We start here, we give you your headlines tonight. The leader of the Nazareth Baptist Church, His Lordship Mduduzi Shembe, has paid a courtesy call on Her Majesty the Queen Mother. His Excellency the Prime Minister Russell Miso Dlamini says trade between Eswatini and Japan stands at over $30.6 million. And the Honorable Minister of Tingundla Administration and Development, Iskubuzo Dlamini, says through the Regional Development Fund, government is set to support grassroots. Good evening, the news in detail. The leader of the Nazareth Baptist Church, His Lordship Mduduzi Shembe, has paid a courtesy call on Her Majesty the Queen Mother. The leader of the church is currently in the kingdom for prayer services.
The leader of the Nazareth Baptist Church, Shembe, His Lordship Mduduzi Shembe, arrived at Eswatini Rural residence to pay a courtesy call on Her Majesty the Queen Mother. The Shembe leader is in the country for a 2-week prayer festival at Bethany. Upon arrival at Eswatini Rural residence, the leader of the Nazareth Church was welcomed by Her Majesty. The Nazareth Church is one of the churches that has a huge number of members in South Africa and in Eswatini. The visit of the leader follows the one that occurred a week ago at Lozita Palace, whereby His Lordship also paid a courtesy call on His Majesty King Mswati III. Their Majesties have blessed and commissioned services for the church that will take place at Eswatini Rural residence this coming weekend. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Zweli Masugu at Eswatini Rural residence.
His Excellency the Prime Minister Russell Miso Dlamini says trade between Eswatini and Japan stands at over $30.6 million. The Premier says most of this money goes to Japan as Eswatini imports more goods from Japan than the land of the rising sun does from the kingdom. The Premier says government wants to see more exports from Eswatini to Japan.
Eswatini continues to do all it can to attract investors to the kingdom. Fresh from hosting a successful investment conference in Eswatini last month, the kingdom has now gathered potential investors and key government officials from Japan to be part of the Eswatini Business Forum. His Excellency the Prime Minister Russell Dlamini says Eswatini has trade relations with Japan, although most of the money goes to Japan.
Current trade between Eswatini and Japan stands at $13.6 million, but the balance is heavily skewed toward Japanese imports. We aim to change this by increasing exports of timber, citrus, jams, sugar, textiles, and handcrafts, particularly from women-led enterprises. Leveraging Japanese generalized system of preferences, we seek preferential access for made in Eswatini products to grow this partnership equitably.
The Premier says Eswatini is open to expand its trade with Japan for the benefit of Emaswati and the economy. The Japan government says there are a few Japanese business people in Africa compared to other continents. It says this is due to that Japanese prefer to work closer to home. Another reason is that Japanese investors in Africa say there are a lot of bottlenecks to cross-border trade in most African states. The premier made it known that government was readily available to find solutions to any hindrances to business. Eswatini made it known that it wishes Japan would open a car assembling plant in the kingdom, as this would benefit Eswatini through employment and Japan through easier access to the African market. Legislators traveling with the premier have said they are ready to look into legislations that stifle business. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela, Osaka, Japan.
Tourists from other countries witnessed the beauty of Eswatini culture at the ongoing World Expo 2025 in Japan. Now, this was during the Eswatini National Day celebration that was also attended by the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Eswatini, that is His Excellency Russell Dlamini.
Eswatini did not just use meetings and statistics to convince investors to come to the kingdom at the Expo 2025 Osaka, but also used music and dance. This was witnessed by hundreds of people who attended the Eswatini National Day at the Expo on Tuesday. His Excellency the Prime Minister Russell Dlamini said hosting such an event on foreign land shows the world the richness of Swazi culture. The Premier said it also showed Eswatini's commitment to sustainable development.
In celebrating our National Day, we are not just remembering our history, but we are reaffirming our values, our culture, and our aspirations for the future. This is a moment to reflect on the journey we have undertaken as a nation, to acknowledge the challenges we've overcome, and to recommit ourselves to rebuild a brighter tomorrow for all Emaswati.
Ambassador and Vice Commissioner General of the 2025 Japan Expo, Misawa Yasushi, said they are excited by Eswatini's presence at the Expo. Yasushi said he hopes the Premier's presence at the Expo will yield fruits for both countries. As this was a day for culture, Emaswati did what they know best, much to everyone's delight. This event left many yearning for more and wishing the sun would not go down on them. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela, Osaka, Japan.
Members of the Ubuntu Eswatini Defence Force might be deployed to assist the Royal Eswatini Police Service in the search for suspects involved in the child kidnapping of children in the country. This was said by the acting Prime Minister, Senator Thulisile Dladla, at Galanga when officially handing over a house to John Bulunga's family.
The Deputy Prime Minister started the day's business at Togotweni constituency, where she handed over 2 houses to 3 beneficiaries from the Pato family. Kamalinza community headman Sipho Dlamini says the Pato family will now live in safe houses thanks to their majesties. Togotweni Member of Parliament Sfiso Shabalala says they are very grateful to the office of the DPM because there are a lot of such houses that are still under construction in his constituency. The DPM proceeded to Mbolonjeni constituency to hand over a 1-bedroom house to Lucas Simelane. Simelane informed the DPM that even if he can respond to a call from the Lord, he will depart in peace. Zacchaeus Moss, who was representing the chief, unpacked the plight of community members like Simelane.
kodwa lona bokungumthwalo lomkhulu kakhulu uma umhlonishwa acting prime minister alethethe into ethi njengaleti.
Bolonjeni member of parliament assured the DPM that as Inkundla Council, they will ensure that they take care of the needy. The DPM's last stop was at Gamziligas in Sitegi, where John Bulunga's family received a house that was built through the assistance of a certain family in the area. The DPM is pleading with Eswatini to assist their majesties in taking care of the needy.
Lesithanda ukubonga nekukhuthaza onke amaswati ukuthi asibambisele inkosi yebantu njengaloku sebushito obucopho la ukuthi tindlu letidzinga kulungiswa lapha katatu nokuthi ngakanani vele ishiselo lubombo ngawe ema regions ethu longathi afuna kuna bantu labanyenti labadzinga lusido.
Chief Shazane Mazia has instructed his council to pay a visit to every homestead to get data of how many people need assistance. The DPM is currently conducting a survey in the Shiselweni and Lubombo regions, respectively, to ascertain the number of people who really need urgent help. Reporting, I am Linton Gule with Nombendulo Shabalala, Kalanga.
The Honourable Minister of Tingundla Administration and Development, Skumbuzo Dlamini, says through the Regional Development Fund, the government is set to support grassroots development and improve public infrastructure. The Honourable Minister was speaking during a launch of a new block of classrooms at Hillside Primary School that was built through the Regional Development Fund. The Eswatini TV Samga Sokoza has more on that story.
In a bid to improve access to quality education, the Honourable Minister of Tingundla Administration and Development, Skumbuzo Dlamini, visited Hillside Primary School together with African States delegation to officially launch a new block of classrooms. The project was funded through the Regional Development Fund and it costed government 1.7 million emalangeni.
Umholi welive ingwenyama inkosi yesithathu yasumisa sikhwama lapho khona yathi sitawuhluza tifundza. He
says through the Regional Development Fund, government will ensure that every child, regardless of where they live, has access to proper learning facilities. Whereas Hillside Primary School Principal Phumzile Vilakati says their classrooms are not in a good state. She says the new classrooms are expected to reduce overcrowding and create more conducive learning environment for both the teachers and the students. Whereas chairperson of the Masundrini King's Council, Kisimusi Ndlovu, said the fund is key to the country's socio-economic transformation. Hillside Primary School has 1,106 learners, whereas the Kingdom of Eswatini is to host the local government conference on Wednesday. Reporting, Samgaswe Koza Manzini.
The Kingdom of Eswatini is intensifying its climate resilience programs, particularly in the agriculture, energy and health sectors. This was said by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Kangeziwe Mabuza, during a nationally determined contributions stakeholder meeting.
The Honourable Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, with support from the United Nations Development Fund, held a stakeholder engagement to review the nationally determined contributions. The PS in the Ministry of Tourism, Kangeziwe Mabuza, says strengthening resiliency in agriculture and energy sectors is no longer optional.
Various sectors, including agriculture, energy, biodiversity, waste and pollution, amongst others. There's also one other key pillar that we would really want to drill on, which is health and climate change for the coming NDC. The whole purpose and objective of us is to review the NDC, which we submitted in 2021, and it was referred to as the NDC2. So now we have all our stakeholders here together. It's an inception report where we are bringing everybody together to brainstorm on what we attained in the implementation of the NDC2.
UNDP Eswatini resident representative Hendrik Franklin said climate change continues to pose serious threats to food security, public health, and sustainable energy supply.
Climate change is an unprecedented and key challenge that all countries and all human beings in the world, no one is exempted. So Eswatini is doing a lot of good work. It's highly vulnerable to climate change. It's agriculture, it's infrastructure. We need to focus on adaptation, but we also need to set our ambition high, and maybe Eswatini could be the first country in Africa to become carbon neutral. I think that's the aim, at least by 2050, to be net zero emissions. So we as UNDP, we're proud to support the country in this endeavor.
The NTC review aims to align Eswatini's climate targets with current realities and ensure the country meets its global environmental commitments. Reporting Samgalsiwe Koza, Mbabane.
The Eswatini Schools Committee and Parents Association, SCAPA, together with the Eswatini Principal Association, have stated that closing schools is not a solution to the abduction of children on their way to and or from school. Meanwhile, the Eswatini National Association of Teachers, that's SNAT, has added that the police must intensify efforts to stop this crime or schools should be closed. These statements were made during a discussion with Eswatini TV on Saturday during an interview with the Royal Eswatini Police Service Communications and Informations Officer, Senior Superintendent Pindile Vlagati, who said that the abduction of children is not yet an out-of-control situation, hence there's no need for panic. The case of the missing 8-year-old girl from Sikuduma in Jericho, Tifezlekweb, who was found beheaded, is an incident that has drawn concern from several organizations.
Eswatini National Association of Teachers Secretary General Lord Vilagati says the association is resolved to search for the missing children on their own. He says police should improve their efforts in solving these cases. Vilagati suggests that schools should start from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and that children should travel in groups while parents should provide transport for their children. Eswatini Schools Committee and Parents Association Deputy President Sisana Mamba says the closure of schools cannot be a solution. She adds that even walking with the children to school is not a long-term answer. She urges parents and teachers to work together, believing that through such collaboration, these aspects can be apprehended. On the other hand, Eswatini Principals Association President Armstrong Dlamini also states that delaying the start of school each day is not a viable solution, as the syllabus may not be completed in time. He says parents should work with their children to and from school, and that community police should also keep an eye on children.
The Royal Eswatini National Airways Corporation's Marketing and Communications Manager, Bathabile Nkambule, says Eswatini Air recorded an increase in passenger numbers, and the Ministry of Home Affairs recorded over 13,000 arrivals at Ngwenya Border Gate during the MTN Bushfire Festival weekend.
The MTN Bushfire Festival continues to prove its status as one of Africa's top cultural events. The Royal Eswatini National Airways Corporation Marketing and Communications Manager, Bathabile Nkambule, says Eswatini Air saw a noticeable increase in passenger numbers ahead of and during the festival weekend.
So we can safely say Bushfire does rake in the numbers in the Kingdom of Eswatini, especially for us, the airline. Since we launched, we've been noticing that increase. And we are grateful to the Bushfire team for partnering with Eswatini Air on this initiative. We have seen loads and loads and loads of people coming for Bushfire through Eswatini Air. We can estimate around plus or minus 700 people that we flew in, especially from Joburg and all the other destinations traceable to Bushfire, flying in from Thursday and flying out up to yesterday from Sunday. So it's been quite a busy weekend for all of us, and we are cleared.
Bathabile also says Eswatini Air will introduce a new route to Zambia by the end of the year.
The airline is planning to launch a route to Lusaka in Zambia soon, and this we've been saying soon, but it's soon. So we are working on the logistics behind the scenes to make sure it eventually takes off and we fly to Lusaka soon. So we urge the nation and our customers to keep watching our social media spaces and our media for updates on this route. So it's coming soon. We are hopeful, probably before the end of this year.
The Ministry of Home Affairs report says Eswatini recorded over 13,000 arrivals at Ngwenya border gate, with Matamo recording 4,185, followed by Lavumisa with 3,888 arrivals during the MTN Bushfire Festival weekend. Reporting Samgalsiwe Koza Manzini.
Now, the spotlight was on Eswatini during its National Day at Japan Expo, where two top ministers delivered a compelling case for Eswatini, for investment and partnership in Eswatini. The Honourable Minister Mangoba Khumalo, the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, emphasized the kingdom's political stability and peaceful environment as a strong foundation for investment. Meanwhile, the Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, that's the Honourable James Milan, highlighted the country's untapped potential and invited global partners to explore unique opportunities across the tourism and environmental sectors. Eswatini's exports to Japan currently stand at over 38 million emalangeni. Eswatini TV's business reporter Nelson Langamanda has more on that story.
Together, the two ministers painted a powerful picture of a forward-looking Eswatini, stable, welcoming, and ready to do business on the global stage. The Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honourable Mangoba Khumalo, says Eswatini is open for business.
This is as a result of the fact that we see our politics through our tradition, and His Majesty remains the symbol of only the leadership of the country. But to find in Eswatini is, if anything is a barrier to an investor, it quickly gets addressed. We also have a private sector minded kind of leadership in cabinet. You find that when His Excellency the Prime Minister and the King make up their cabinet, they really are conscious to ensure that there's a good balance between political astuteness as well as private sector leadership.
Speaking to a global audience, investors and partners, the Honourable Minister for Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Jane Mkonda, described Eswatini as a hidden gem in Africa, rich in culture, biodiversity, and scenic beauty.
We have Lubombo Big 5 Game Reserve, where we have a number of reserves meshed together to come up with one, where we want to promote the conservation of wildlife. Investors can come up with 5-star hotels. You can come up with water sports. We also have the ICC and the 5-star hotel. Under the ICC, we call upon public partnership for collaboration, especially in hosting of international conferences.
According to the latest statistics by the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, Eswatini's exports to Japan by the year 2023 stood at 28,209,612 emalangeni. Reporting Nelson Langamandla, some visuals from the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority.
Right, let's segue into the world of business, where we take a look at financial indicators to give us a sense of how markets performed today in the Up Next financial report.
Standard Bank.
Welcome back in our sports news. Evelyn Bering High School has progressed to the national semi-finals of the Instacash Schools Soccer Tournament for the third time in a row after defeating Mhlatane High School in the finals of the Hoho Regional last 16 by 3-0. The games were played at Killarney Stadium in Pixpick.
The last 16 of this year's Instacash Schools Soccer Tournament got underway at the Killarney Stadium in Pixpick under the Hoho region, with the Mhlatane High School facing Evelyn Bering in the last 16 finals of the region after defeating Skanyana High School and Eswatini High School respectively. The first half saw the Eswatini-based high school, which is Bering High School, showing more strength with speedy winger Hleliso Gametse, known as Madlenya, scoring 2 goals in the first half. Ayabonga Gama also came with a beautiful third goal before the end of the first half, as the game ended on that note, with Bering leading 3-0 to qualify for their third semi-final games of the competition in a row. The story continues on Wednesday under the Manzini region, where in the first game, Ekupagameni High School will play Manzini Central, while Mngosini High School will play Inyanza High School. The winners will then play in the last 16 finals later on the day. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera at the Killarney Stadium in Pixpick.
Right, that's how we hit the home stretch of the news at 10 at Eswatini TV. Before we go, a quick reminder of your top stories tonight. The leader of the Nazareth Baptist Church, His Lordship Mduduzi Shambe, has paid a courtesy call on Her Majesty the Queen Mother. His Excellency the Prime Minister Russell Miso Dlamini says trade between Eswatini and Japan stands at over $30.6 million. And the Honourable Minister of Tingunda Administration and Development, Skhumbuzo Dlamini, says through the Regional Development Fund, government is set to support grassroots development and improve public infrastructure. Right, and just like that, we have come to the conclusion of the news at 10. From myself, from Nyako, as well as Makabiso Ngambo, we shall now cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the team. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Good night and God bless.
Ngikuphela ukulizama ukubalekela ukuthi singumndeni simunye sivale kwazana sonke.
Yini lamanyana lawa wena uyaphila kahle la? No. Angeke uyimele lempilo ufuna kuyisusa. Utawushaka kabuhlungu.
What the hell is going on? Don't touch me. What is she doing here?
I need to talk to her. Sorry. Man, kokhula sitaqina sibonela sejubile nyaka.